pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Lisa.
Bob Valdez,
Present.
Gwen Dusa, present. Glenn Gunner,
Here.
Barb McHenry, present. James Aitken,
Here.
Jerry Hayes,
Here. For the August 23rd, 2021 meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from August 23rd, 2021 as presented.
support.
Moved and supported to approve the minutes of the August 23rd, 2021 meeting as presented. Any corrections, questions? You can call the roll, Lisa.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes. Minutes approved. Presentations and communications. Filling of council vacancy interview. So what we are going to do, we're going to go in alphabetical order. We have a set of questions. I think Michael will begin with the first question and we'll just come down the road. And then go from there.
What page are they on?
they're on the printed agenda.
Thank you.
Sorry, we had technical
Great.
difficulties.
So the first person.
You wish to address at the podium or?
Yeah, perfect.
Good evening and thank you for having me this evening.
Welcome. Christopher, thanks for being here. Our first question is, please describe your previous work in the community and how these experiences qualify you for a position on council.
Absolutely. So right now, as an assistant prosecuting attorney, as I'm sure you read in my letter of interest and my resume I included, every day I'm faced with tough decisions. Whether or not that person deserves leniency or whether or not they deserve the maximum force of justice. I think as a counsel, you're presented with tough questions each meeting, and I believe my decisiveness would be able to help counsel in making those tough decisions that you have to make, ultimately, especially on such things as that, the current water project that's going on, everything like that. I believe that would be beneficial and helpful to counsel.
Okay. Stay up there, I got a question for you too, Chris. Number two, second question, give me some examples or give us some examples of group decision making you've been involved with and how those experiences could be utilized on the council.
Absolutely. So again, I go back to my experience as an assistant prosecutor, and in prosecuting individuals, it's really a group effort from the secretaries up to the elected prosecutor. And the group of decisions that go along with that are, I was up late last night with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old and not on top of my game, to be honest with you, and I apologize for that, but really the group decision making is how we go forward in prosecuting cases. Again, going back to the decision of whether or not we lighten up on some individuals or go full force of justice on others, that is ultimately a group decision that's kind of made there. And of course, we get direction from the elected prosecutor in my position, but ultimately it's a kind of a group decision. We're looking at factors such as problems within the community, and it's really, we come together as a group to make those decisions to better help the citizens of the county.
Thank you.
Please describe how you would react to a situation in which the council voted 4-3 to approve a very contestable issue.
Thank you, Barb, and congratulations on opening your businesses last weekend. Looking forward to experiencing that. Honestly, if I'm overruled in a vote, it kind of is what it is, to be honest with you. I didn't have the votes, but I would go about learning, hey, what does the other side see in this? What changes should I make to my personal beliefs that would better align with what the majority thinks?
Please name 3 qualities a council member should have.
Trustworthiness is an absolute. I know, as Phil can tell you, we're bound by legal ethics in our attorney industry, and the trustworthiness is just paramount. Trustworthiness with the client, and as a council member, trustworthiness with your constituents. Diligence, I believe, would be another factor. You just can't sit on things and wait for things to happen. You have to take action. Whether that means bringing something to the council's attention or even going out and looking for issues, you have to find those. And I think compassion is another factor I think would make a great council person. There's been times where I've watched council meetings where somebody's coming up here trying to appeal a water issue, and you have to take a certain level of compassion. It all can't be hard-lined. You have to have empathy.
Thank you.
Okay, Chris, please describe how you would like the village of Blissfield to look in the next 5 years.
Honestly, I moved here back in November 2020 for a reason. It's an ideal village to raise a family, and I don't want to see that change. What I would like to see change possibly is greater access to kind of a public transit. I know this is kind of a left field long-term goal, but I think public transit in this immediate area, not going anywhere else, I think that could possibly increase some tourist revenue that's coming in and increase the businesses around here. But again, that's kind of a pipe dream thought of mine. But I think maybe that's something to investigate to possibly help the local businesses out around here.
I think I know what you mean by public transit, but could you elaborate just a little bit by that? What do you mean?
Absolutely not. I'm not talking big, huge buses or anything like that, but possibly a shuttle service that goes from the east side of town to the west side of town. So if a tourist bus comes in, they can stop at, the halfway house on the west side, then they can get over to the farm museum on the east side without having to get back on that tour bus. I think that would possibly increase the tourism possibilities.
Thank you.
Chris, what 3 adjectives would you use to describe yourself?
Honesty, trustworthy, and diligent. I know those really mimic what I said were the 3 factors that made a good council person, but I believe those factors there would really describe it in a good, concise nature. I hate to go beyond those 3, but I will. Of course, a family man. I have a 1 and 3-year-old, as I stated earlier to you, but I mean, if you decide to go forward with me, I would certainly be one who listens up there. I think that's very, very important. And not only listening, I'm going to be asking questions. I want to get down to the brass tacks of why something is the way it is. We need a better understanding. Well, I would need a better understanding before I'd be willing to make any decisions. They wouldn't just be taken at face value, numbers on a page. I want to know why.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for your interest in applying for the council position. Actually, I meant to say that at the beginning. Thanks for all of you for applying. just shows you how much people care, and I really appreciate that. So that being said, we have Douglas Hickman. Go ahead, Mike.
Doug, welcome. If you would please describe your previous work in the community and how these experiences qualify you for a position on council.
Well, I've been active in the community for, well, since I moved here, more than 25 years ago. Been on Lions clubs. I've been on various civil programs, worked with Barb, with the playground construction, your dad on Lions clubs and other things. I've been a civil servant my whole professional life. Lastly, with the Department of Corrections. So I'm kind of accustomed to it.
Give some examples of group decision-making you've been involved with and how those examples could be utilized on the council.
Well, with Lions clubs, playground construction club, being elected to the library board. I've held all the positions available. Both from president down to member at large. And I always try to stay open.
Thank you.
Doug, please describe how you would react to a situation in which council voted 4-3 to approve a contestable issue and you were on the dissenting side.
Well, I think I'd probably be disappointed. There's contestable, and then there's, something's legally wrong, contestable. So I'm guessing you're just talking about contestable. I've been on both sides of those in civil organizations. So when you lose, you lose. You remember that regardless of how many people vote for whatever issue, you council members know, there's 7 of you wandering out together into that minefield. Whatever the vote comes out to, you all are painted by the same brush. So even if you don't like a decision, you're still bound to stand for it. And so long as we're not getting into breaking laws, I'm good for that.
Thank you.
Please name 3 qualities a council member should have.
Well, I think visibility is important. People know where I live. People see me walking around the town and whatnot. I'm willing to listen to anybody. I don't always enjoy it, but I'll listen to them. And I'm willing to bring concerns that I might not share to a discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Nice to meet you, Doug. I don't think we've met before, so nice to meet you. Please describe how you would like the village council, the village of Blissfield to look in the next 5 years.
That's a tricky one. Because as your downtown development people undoubtedly know, when they have grandiose plans to improve the town, they're not improving it for the people who live here, but for the next people who live here and will bring the real estate values up. So, like my compatriot there, I would say it would be best to just leave things alone. The most dramatic thing I would see is get rid of these little trees and put real trees back in when the wires aren't in the way along the streets. Because so many people have memories of the verdant arches throughout their childhood. And when you see a little redbud tree there on either side and a big chunk of sky, they just sigh.
Are you smiling at that, Mike?
I am.
That is near and dear to Mike's heart. Thank you.
Doug, what 3 adjectives would you use to describe yourself?
Probably not an adjective, but just open, willing to listen, and willing to present things.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Timothy Water.
Good evening.
The
Timothy, welcome.
Thank you.
If you would, please describe your previous work in the community and how these experiences qualify you for a position on council.
I've been pastoring the Bible Wellness Church for 22 years. We had run bus ministry pretty much that whole time until about June of last year. And so that has given me a lot of time of working with people of all ages. And I have been coming to council meetings since 2014 and got involved back then in attending. I think the first meeting that me and my wife attended, there were no other citizens there, but just the board. And it has grown since then. And so that's been my involvement here in this community of pastoring. And I also started working at Schrader Tire and Oil on the west side of town in 1993. And I have worked myself up there from a retread plant operator to a logistics manager, truck driver. I also drive tractor trailer. And so that's in the community also, though just outside the village limits. So that's been my involvement here. I have lived here, was born and raised here. And I think it was 48 years. 40 years I've lived in the village, 8 years lived in the township.
Thank you, sir.
Timothy, please give us some examples of group decision-making you've been involved with and how those experiences could be utilized on the council.
I am also a youth camp president down in Anderson, Indiana, and it's with the conference, the church that I pastor. And our age groups are between 12 and 20, and there can be 50 to 60 youth. So I'm the president of the committee, and making decisions that involve young people is amazing, and working with young people is amazing also. People staying in their rooms at night, making decisions of that nature. I also am a board member of that particular conference, 12-member board, and I'm also a ordained elder with the Bible Holiness Conference. So that gives me a lot of opportunity to work with a number of people and make decisions.
Thank you.
Okay, Timothy, please describe how you would react to a situation in which the council voted 4-3. Lost my place, to approve a very contestable issue, and you were on the dissenting side.
Well, I like to win, and playing ball, I like to win. So if I was put in that position, I would accept it for what it is and also learn from it. You know, why did the vote go that way? Maybe I wasn't seeing it for what it really was, and maybe I wasn't thinking straight. But in that particular position, I would accept it for what it is and continue to work together with the council.
Please name 3 qualities a council member should have.
Listening ear. I talk to a number of people, but one of the habits I have developed, especially on the telephone, is just to listen until people have said everything that they wanted to say. And I get them to the point where they say, "Are you still there?" And I say, "Yes, I'm listening." So for myself, and it was one of our themes at Schrader Tire and Oil, is be a good listener. Because if you listen to what people say, then you're going to learn what they're trying to say, and you'll learn more about them. So I think you need to have a listening ear, I think you need to be truthful. Sometimes, even if it's to your own hurt, or if it's something that you don't particularly want to say, if it's the truth, say the truth. And also be compassionate. Not everybody's going to think like I am, and I may not think like them, but have compassion and do your best to work with them in the situation.
Thank you.
Hey there. Please describe how you would like the village, of Blissfield to look in the next 5 years.
Well, I like to see our business boom. I was thinking of the Blissfield manufacturer, pretty much takes up a whole block. I'd like to see something come in there and generate some jobs. It is bothersome to me to see vacant buildings. So I think we're doing good, trying to get business up, and I'd like to see that continue to grow. And also, I believe the village of Blissfield is family oriented, and I like to see it stay that way. My parents raised 8 children here in Blissfield and 8 years in a township. And so I have a lot of good memories, as a family here in this community, and would like to see that continue to grow in that direction.
What 3 adjectives will you use to describe yourself?
Well, I'll try to make these as close to adjectives as possible, but I'm a hardworking person. I'm considerate, and also I would consider myself to be compassionate, and I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty, even as a pastor. As I said, I work a job also to help out. I have no parishioner call me and say I'm lazy. In fact, if they would call me at 5 in the morning, I would be up. And then late at night, probably too late up, being up too late. But considered also, and people that may not see things exactly how I would feel or see them, but would be considerate of that. And in the ministry, work with a number of people in that direction. And having compassion on people and trying to understand how they got into the situation, whether it's good or bad, and work with them and try to see it how they see it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Stefano Singer.
Hello,
Stefano,
how's it going?
thanks for coming. It's like elementary school. See you
Do
later.
I look as
See you
nervous as
later.
I feel? Because I'm nervous, so.
Stefano, if you would describe your previous work in the community and how these experiences qualify you for a position on council.
I've previously served on the, what's it called now? The Downtown Development Authority. But I don't think, I just went to a meeting for that, but the Chamber of Commerce is what I was trying to think of. So I was on the board of directors for the e-board for the Chamber of Commerce a long time ago. So, we did some decision making. Then I've also been involved with the Knights of Columbus here in town. But as far as community events and everything, I think I'm involved in pretty much all of them on some capacity as far as whenever anybody needs anything, I'm kind of that go-to guy, so.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Stefano, please give some examples of group decision-making you've been involved with and how those experiences could be utilized on the council.
Well, like I said, it was a long time ago when I was on the e-board for that, and the Knights of Columbus was a very short stint. So we worked as a board on all that, but I would just go back to my business, even though I'm the boss or whatever, but I always involve my team, in big decision making, and ultimately I have the last say, but we always involve the whole team when we do things around there, so.
Okay, Stefano, please describe how you would react to a situation in which the council voted 4-3 to approve a very contestable issue, and you were on the dissenting side.
I think you just have to move on with it and get behind it 100%. You have to, support the board's decision and work to make that succeed, because that's the last thing you want something to do is fail. So try to just get behind it.
Thank you.
Please name 3 qualities a council member should have.
I think visibility, like in the community. I think just having everybody in the village see you, know what you do, that you're involved is very good. I think trustworthiness. People know you, people trust you. You know, people who are your friends, or like the more you interact with people, you know, like I said, I know a lot of people around town. I could probably tell you what most of them eat on their pizza, but it's just, I think, you know, you just got to get to know everybody as much as possible. And I just think drive, like, to get things done.
Thank you.
Stefano, could you please describe how you would like the village of Blissfield to look in the next 5 years?
When I hear that question, I think of one word: developed. As a business owner in the 223 corridor, you know, I try to keep my business looking nice, so that when people go through town, they see something nice. I think there's a lot of areas just in that corridor that we can work on. I know it's not in our power to be, you know, fix everybody's properties or stuff like that, but it's something that we can look at and maybe talk to those property owners and, you know, get things moving so that, you know, people see something really nice as they go through Blissfield. Not that it's not, but there are some properties that, you know, could use some work, so.
Thank you.
What 3 adjectives would you use to describe yourself?
I think hardworking, driven, trustworthy, and friendly. That's a major one. I think I'm very approachable, so.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Like we talked about process before with numbers. Do you remember how we did that? I mean, you know,
I believe it was where we went ahead and we broke down numbers 1 through 4, or 1 through 2, 1 through 3. And I think it was the top, we kind of gathered the number of points.
Let's go ahead.
Eeny, meeny, miny, moe. No.
It's been done worse ways.
And then depending on the number of points, you know,
okay, that's the way we're gonna do it then.
you might do the point.
The point thing.
Okay, so then we have to determine whether or not the number 1 is going to be the person with the least amount of points would be the person that could be the recommended person for the position. Am I correct on that?
So it'll be positions 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4, yes. So we need a piece of paper. Everybody have a piece of paper? And we'll get it over for you.
Voting later in the meeting.
It's laid out in the agenda. Thank you very much for that.
Yes, we still want a piece of paper.
All right. Thank you for that.
On to public comment, items on the agenda. Public comment, move on to the agenda. September 13th, 2021 meeting. The agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Second, to approve the agenda as presented. You call the roll, Lisa.
Barb,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes. Agenda approved. Next item is unfinished business.
I have something, Danielle, I didn't see it, something, but perhaps I had missed it. Is there a status of the home that Mr. Roach was looking at?
Yes, it's just the one sentence is in the thing, and it should be, so when we were having some technical difficulties with iCompass, and I'm wondering if it's not on your email version, but it's on the paper version that you have for
okay,
sure.
the top of page 9.
Alright, yeah, and when we get to reports, we can look at that.
Okay, then I'll just wait till reports, if you want to do that, that would be fine.
Any other unfinished business?
Yes, Lisa, if I recall correctly, there was 3 phones you were still looking to check on, and have those been resolved? Yes,
They have not yet, no.
okay. I just only asked it. Fred, have the discussion. No, all right, yeah, thank you. Oh, and then, Danielle, you would probably be able to answer this question. What is the status, how are things going with the new, bulk water system that we've got into play? I haven't had a chance to talk with Nora, I'm assuming that, that you have. How are things going with the new bulk water system with the card and things of that nature?
So I have actually talked to both Nora and Brandon both about this. To my knowledge, we've not had, and I'm gonna hopefully not jinx us, any issues. It seems to be working pretty well. The other thing is we've definitely seen an increase in revenues there with the better system that we put in place. So things are going well.
Wonderful. Okay, that's what I was hoping to hear. Beautiful. All right, thank you. Those are all my questions.
Any other unfinished business? All right, moving on to new business. Okay. Once the agenda item, number 1 is payroll.
I recommend motion to approve the payroll register for September 2021 in the amount of $115,063.16.
Support. Moved and supported to move to approve the payroll register for September 2021 in the amount of $115,063.16. Any questions? If not, you can call the roll, Lisa.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes. Motion carried. Next action item is accounts payable, paying bills. Any question on the bills?
Yes. I'm not sure what page, Lisa, and I apologize, I didn't get with you sooner. It is regarding the bus charters for an amount of $925.
So that they're doing a bus tour with 3 different communities. I believe it's Saline, Milan. I think they're stopping at the Butter Barn in Yes, yes.
Yes.
and that is the charter for that. However, I know I'm almost 100% sure Heather is also trying to get a grant for that, that she's filled out to cover part of that cost.
So we are paying for the charter
We're
to
doing a deposit down on it, yes,
stop here in Blissfield.
correct,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
And I think there was some general information maybe shared on the DEA.
There was, I saw that as well.
Recently, yes.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
as well.
So we had to put a,
I didn't realize we had a cost with that.
yes,
do we know why is there a cost for that? I'm asking to have the bus charter stop here. I don't quite
I assume
understand.
once they pay their fees, I can't remember, I feel like it was $90.
Is Heather on Zoom or Dana? Can you
I
answer?
did actually talk to Heather about this as well, so there will be a registration fee or participation fee, whatever we wanna call it, for those that actually ride the bus that will help cover that expense. And we are partnering with those other communities to be able to go take these people to the different communities and shop and spend some money there. So the cost is being incurred now, but we will recuperate that with
As the
those.
people sign up for the bus trip and then we get
Correct.
I understand now. Okay, so it's kind of upfront and then we get the pay rate. Understand, okay. Another question I have, it was on page 30 for the original packet, and it is 1000765 for Greg Brown. And I have a little bit of a question regarding that, very similar, we find it here on my paperwork. I don't know if it's that same page now, sorry. Here it is, it's on page 31 of the whole packet, Lisa. Anyhow, it's regarding Greg Brown, excuse me, doing the library building and grounds maintenance. I have a question about that, very similar to the question I had before regarding the, I just lost the word I'm looking for. Not that it's not ethical. Thank you, the transparency and was the job bid out and Greg has, obviously did the work. Do we have any information about that, please?
Yes, so I actually did see that bill come through and had reached out to Bob with the same or similar question that you just asked. I would be more than happy to forward that email to you all as well, just because I don't want to speak for Bob, but my memory, he stated that they did not get quotes for that. It has been past practice when it's under a certain amount to get that work done and moving forward. And that they did go with Greg. I did respond back to him just indicating that in an effort to be fair to all contractors and people within the village limits, that we want to make sure that since he does serve on the board, that we're being fair to anybody else that could also do that work.
Yes.
Dr. Bob was very receptive to that and willing to work with us moving forward. Just to make sure that we are being the same across the board and
Yes,
fair to everybody.
I think that's all that council would be looking for, obviously. Thank you. My next question is regarding Mr. Jubai. I believe it's on page perhaps 35 or 36. It's 1001097. And I believe there are 3 bills.
So because I run this from the last printing of the approval for the last meeting, to the beginning, he had sent me June's late, or he sent it with July's. So it went from when I printed them on the 11th of August, and I didn't get both of those until like right after that. So, and then he just, the end of last week sent me August. So that's why there's 3 different months on there. And one was for, June when he was doing all the work.
That was my next question. Okay, so
Yeah.
June for the larger
Correct.
number. That was because that was for the representation for
Yes.
everything. And then for the months of July and August, it was just for the police work.
Correct.
I understand. Okay. Thank you very much for that clarification. Those are all my questions now.
Any other questions on the bills?
Do we have printout copies of same, Lisa?
Yes, they're in my office. I'll have to stay there afterwards.
Right then. We have a recommended motion to pay bills.
I move to approve accounts payable for the period of August 11th, 2021 to September 14th, 2021 in the amount of $1,121,861.78.
Support.
Moved and supported to approve accounts payable for the period of August 11th, 2021 to September 14th, 2021 in the amount of $1,121,800. $861.78. There aren't any other questions? You can call the roll, Lisa.
Mike,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes,
Jerry,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes. Bills are paid. Next action item is to approve filling the council vacancy.
You want our names, Danielle, would you like our names on these papers as well? That would be my assumption.
Now we're gonna hand them to you.
And I'll tally.
Yeah.
Okay, that works, yes,
Our name should be on them too.
yes.
so just to make it clear, number 1 on our paper is our first choice, number 2 is our second choice. So therefore, the one with the fewest points is the one we all choose, yes.
Game of golf.
Okay.
While you're doing that, Danielle, I'll just say that once again, I appreciate all of you applying for the position. Just like I said, it's really reassuring to see that everyone cares about the village, and like I said, I appreciate it. Also, we will not be swearing in the candidate tonight. We will be doing that at the next meeting, and I think that's it.
So I have tallied Doug at 20 votes, Chris at 16, Stefano at 13, and Timothy at 11.
Well, I'll make the motion, that's all right. We move to appoint Timothy Waters to serve on the village council until the next regular village election in November of 2022.
I'll support that.
Moved and supported to appoint Timothy Waters to serve on village council until the next regular village election in November 2022.
And I do have chief just double checking because it would make me feel better. So I don't know if you want to wait for that or if you guys are comfortable. I just would feel terrible if I missed something. Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that. I just wanted to be here. Thanks, chief.
So we already made the motion, you can call the order, roll.
James,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, the motion carried. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That would also. I would also encourage all of you to run in the next election. Show interest in that.
we also have some other board seats open in planning commission, DDA. Something else,
Parks and Rec.
parking, and Rec.
Construction Board of Appeals.
So please see me about that.
Good plug, Lisa.
Yeah.
Working on it.
All right. Next action item is to bid award 2021 street spray patching project.
Move council award the 2021 street spray patching project to Premier Patching Incorporated in the amount of $29,157.50 as presented.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded to award the 2021 spray patching project bid to Premier Patching Incorporated in the amount of $29,157.50. Are there any questions or comments? If not, you can call the roll, Lisa.
Barb,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, the motion carried. Next action item is bid award police explorer bid.
I'll make a motion to move to award the police 2010 Ford Explorer bid to Chris Sharp at the amount of $4,700.
Support.
Moved and supported to award the police 2010 Ford Explorer bid to Chris Sharp in the amount of $4,700. Any questions? If not, call the roll, Lisa.
Mike,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, the motion carried. Next section, item is approved wastewater treatment plant supervisor permanent appointment. You would like to go over that?
Yes, Honorable President and Council, I am going to just be very honest with you all. I had a really hard time with this recommendation in reviewing this. As you all know, previously it was discussed, or a motion was made to put Steve as the interim supervisor at the wastewater treatment plant pending Randy being able to get his operator's license, and that would come back specifically on September 13th. So here we are. I have talked to both of the employees. I have been here a short time and have seen some things already, but I do want to be very upfront, and my biggest concern is that I've not been here long enough to make a super solid recommendation. I do feel for Randy in this position, and he and I have talked numerous times. In fact, he's here, so I would encourage you guys to listen to anything or any comments he may have as well. But what I'm recommending is that we actually post this position both internally and externally. There's a couple parts to this. We currently have 2 full-time employees out there. We need another one. This has become very clear recently with some different things, with the employees having some vacation, with the COVID situation that we're in currently, and some just various different factors. Thankfully, DPW has been wonderful in helping to step up with things and help out where they can, but then their jobs falling and lacking. There was a study that was done looking at the employees at the wastewater treatment plant in 2019. It was recommended that there be 3 to 5.43 full-time employees. So the 3rd employee is needed. What I would like to do is post the position, again, open it up internally. If we fill the position with an internal employee, then we would repost for just an operator, solicit that so that we get the 3rd person, or the other, if we hire externally for the supervisor, then the 2 current employees would remain or be put back down to operators. My recommendation again is because of the length of time I've been here. I definitely see a need for it. I think that brings in some other people to really evaluate our current employees and any potential applicants we could get as a group, rather than it solely being on me with my limited knowledge. I do think it follows the hiring manual that we've adopted as a village, which I think is important that we follow those rules. If we don't like them, we should change them. But in the meantime, if we follow them, then we're treating everybody the same. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Again, would be more than happy to discuss with you guys or answer any questions. I would definitely encourage you to listen to Randy if he has any comments. And I did put in the actual agenda itself, the attachment that was the memo that was included when Randy was initially appointed as acting wastewater supervisor.
I'd like to hear what you have to say, Randy.
I
Can you just come up there so I can hear you a little easier? Thank you.
I don't really have a whole lot necessarily to say. I mean, you guys, well, I guess it's only been about half a year at this point. I've been on council in the 2 years that I was doing the job. I guess I'll just leave that up to, your observations, and if you have any questions, whether you have them now or later, or remind me.
I have a question more for Danielle right now. Thank you, Randy. Could you refresh our memories? Who made the recommendation for the 3.5/5 people? I know that you made comment reference of it.
So I found an employee study that I believe Joe did the research and then it was brought to council and approved by council, and that was in 2019. I do not recall the specific date.
And regarding our budget, can we budget it for a third person as an operator versus as a supervisor?
So when I initially presented the draft budget to you guys and what you have, it was not in there. I did, however, add it. I don't have those worksheets printed for you guys today. I should have all of the final changes to you soon. But I did put some of that information in here, so we can support a full-time position. What I did is I assumed that we would pay them at the supervisor rate with full family benefits, which would be on the high end. So hopefully or ideally, we would come under that. But yes, we do have room within our existing budget. That would not have any impacts to the proposed projects that you guys seen. It also would not impact what we are projecting to put away into our fund reserves as well. So I feel very comfortable that we can support a third full-time employee.
Thank you.
Say like Gwen alluded to, I think there's two caveats in front of us regarding the discussion. The first, take the easier one first, do we need the staff? Obviously we do. But sitting down with our department heads, is that the most critical one? Because we've talked in the past few years about having another water treatment plant operator as well. And I get it's a struggle, and we're having DPW staff man the wastewater treatment plant more and more, as Danielle alluded to. So yes, that position does need to be filled. Is that the most critical position to be filled at this time? And then yes, you did kind of explain it in here that it is within our budget. Again, we just have to wear the steward hats of our public, and again, they need to understand, why our sewer rates are what they are. Yeah, we're also going to hire another employee. We need to really get that information out there. Going back to the other caveat, I guess, would be the crapshoot of COVID and how we wound up in this mess. Randy was acting as our supervisor when we had contracted out Clinton's supervisor to use his quote license to run the wastewater treatment plant, because Randy wasn't able to test for that due to COVID.
Right.
So again, this isn't Randy's fault, this is our fault, this is again, just the state didn't open up the testing to get that license. On the flip side of that, we had to have a licensed operator at that plant, otherwise we're not qualified to run a wastewater treatment plant in the village. So we had to appoint Steve in that capacity as our contracted supervisor left, and we had to replace that position. We had to fill that position. So it's a challenge, Randy, and you gotta, see it from both sides. Is yes, we had to fill that position. It's unfortunate that he didn't get to take that test. And I think it's horrible that he didn't get to, because he did wind up passing it as soon as they opened it up. The decision now is how do we go about filling that position and being fair across the board. And that's not gonna be easy. I don't think there's a win-win solution to this.
Part of
Go ahead.
part of the problem with the waste plant with its current condition is the understaffing. For the first 4 years that I was here, there was one person out there. And then the DPW had a guy out there 3 days a week for 2 hours, and I was out there for a full day for 2 days a week. And then when the previous supervisor left for Clinton, I was out there, and then DPW would have a guy out there for 2 hours, 3 days a week. And that was all the staffing that there was. And that's a majority of the reason as to why it's in the shape that it's in now. And then the discussion on the water plant extra employee was based on the state's recommendation to go to 3 shifts, but without the ethanol plant. It's kind of, yeah.
I guess I would, if you don't mind, like to follow up a little bit to that too, as far as the need and that being the priority. I personally absolutely feel that it is the priority. Our wastewater treatment plant has been unfortunately neglected for a long period of time. And one of the discussions that I had with Randy as well is that one of my biggest concerns, regardless if he's in this position or whoever it is how do we set them up for success? And we've not done a good job as a village of doing that. We cannot put somebody in this position and expect them to succeed at it and to get this plant to where it needs to be if we don't give them the tools and resources. They need that other person. We need to start making this a priority, and that kind of ties into our fees too. You know, we could brag that we have the lowest fees in the whole county, but if we're not taking care of what we need to and doing our job properly, it's not really a win. So I mean, I want to put it out there, absolutely would not make this recommendation if I did not wholeheartedly feel that this is a very important need for us moving forward. You know, I do also, and I told Randy the same thing, I feel for him, this is kind of a crappy situation for him. And it's just kind of a crappy how we got to this point overall. But what I look at is how do we be fair and equitable to all of our employees moving forward. And what I don't want to do is say, well, that this is what happened in the past, so we'll continue the path, when maybe that's not the path we should have been on. So I think that this is our opportunity to do things fair. And that was, again, my conversation with him. I do want it to be absolutely known that, again, I do feel for him in his position. And I mean, overall, this is not the ideal spot that I would ever like to be in the future. So it is a tough decision.
I mean, we've been proven that both operators are capable of doing the supervisory position. If you want to open up that spot, you feel that it's in our budget and we can handle that third person, fine. But I think what we should do is maybe go back to the drawing board and interview, set up a subcommittee. We interview the two candidates, Randy and Steve, and then bring that back to council with a recommendation on how we move forward with a supervisor of that facility.
So you don't want to post it, you just want to just do the internal?
I would rather stay internal.
Okay.
I think that both candidates, both employees have proven themselves, proven to us that they can do that job as we want them.
And our assumption, Danielle, Steve has his interest, I mean, he wants to continue to be a supervisor, is that correct?
That I do not want to answer for him. Initially, I believe yes. However, Steve has been very clear that he is happy either way, whether he stays in that position, whether it's Randy, that they will work together. There will be no hard feelings between him and Randy. And that was our most recent discussion, that either way, he will continue working for us and he will be happy and a team player.
So then if you'd like to make that motion.
Well, I don't disagree with the need of a third person, but didn't council set into motion for this exact thing to happen? That Steve would become the interim until Randy passed his test? And that at that point, he would then resume being the supervisor? I think we need to go back and look at our meeting minutes, because I think that's exactly how it was presented.
I did put those very specific, actually took it right from the minutes. It's under summary of previous council action. So that was your April 19th motion and minutes and how that passed. So it does say, I think at the end.
Schedule a review.
Correct. Now, and I think it's mentioned, and maybe I didn't, but the thing is, Randy was acting supervisor when you guys put Steve as interim. Neither were ever permanently assigned to the supervisor role. And that's kind of where, I guess it is unique. The attachment I included, the memo from Joe, that motion does specifically say and you'd have to look at it, because I don't have it, I'm going off memory, but it specifically says that you would put Randy as acting supervisor until he obtained his level C license, at which time you would plan to promote him to supervisor. I'm sure that's clear as mud, but.
How I'm understanding it, how I'm reading it, is it says to schedule a review of, so we are reviewing it right now. That's how I look at this, as a review. So from my perspective, we are reviewing how many people need to be in the position. We are reviewing an interview taking place between Randy and Steve for the supervisor's position. And then I'm hearing us say that we're gonna, between the two gentlemen, we're gonna go ahead and a supervisor would be chosen. The other would be an operator, and then we would be hiring an operator. That's what I'm hearing as our review.
I would agree with that. Would you like to entertain a motion, Mike, then?
My only question is just going back to Danielle's comment on how much does Steve want to be the supervisor, and if he's not interested in continuing that, then we're not gonna sit here and,
I understand.
you know, have negative feelings for no reason. There shouldn't be a reason for that. We need to get an answer. If they both want that position, then we say, okay, we're gonna open it up and we'll interview you both. If not, then
Right. Would it be,
somebody's not gonna be hurt
right,
or, you know, upset with us for that entire reason.
would it be appropriate for us to table this?
We could internally post it and then get interest.
Yes, perhaps that route, or CSU has that interest? I mean, you could post it like you're saying.
I would
too.
still, I guess, go back to, and I don't want to speak for Steve, so I'm not saying he is or is not, I don't know. But
Steve,
what we
that
would do is
under-
internally post it and then see what your applicants are and go from there. And that way we're not pushing this down the road even
Okay.
further, asking Randy and Steve to wait and kind of be in
So
that
post it
limbo. At least we're
internally.
making some progress forward.
Okay, okay, I see where you guys are coming from.
I think that's the lesser of two evils. And again, Randy, I feel for you. This is way beyond your control, beyond our control. We should have been able to do the stupid testing of what it boils down to, but I feel for you and I wholeheartedly apologize for that.
She got thrown in the middle of it.
Randy, how long do you end up waiting to take that test?
A whole year.
It was at least a year, wasn't it?
Yep, it was supposed to be spring of 20 and it wanted to be in spring of 21.
Jeez.
So our recommended motion would be move to post the position of wastewater treatment plant supervisor internally.
I would just leave it at that,
Okay.
because what we will do with the new full-time operator is that's in your budget. So it'll be, that can be all inclusive there. I've got the updated information, because that would not be effective until October 1 anyway, so.
All right, then would you like to make that?
Yes, I'll make the motion to move to post the position of wastewater treatment plant supervisor internally. Perfect. Support.
Moved and supported to move to post the position of wastewater treatment plant supervisor internally. Are there any other questions or comments?
I don't know if you want me to internally.
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 I know what I was trying to say. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you. Go ahead and call the roll, Lisa.
James,
No.
Barb,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, that motion carried. Next action item is resolution budget amendment.
President and city council or village council. So this one, gives me some heartburn. We had previously approved to pay for the MIG construction retainage for the pool out of the capital pool funding. Staff had reached out to the bonding agency on this, asking if there was a required reserve. And we're under the impression that we could use that money to pay for this construction related cost. In preparation of the budget and trying to look at some different ways to use the most or get the most out of what we had available to spend. We had proposed doing some additional things with that funding and reached out to the bonding agency, who clarified that the construction project has been closed out. Therefore, no construction related costs can actually come from that fund. That fund at this time can only fund the bond and interest payments itself. So this payment had come out of that. This amendment would correct it. It will actually need to come out of the general pool fund. I, again, will have that change in the final budget that you guys will see at the next meeting. It stinks, but overall, within the budget, we are okay. We can take this or support this payment. So I am just asking that we make I actually have been working with Phil, who has some information and got some additional information to figure out how the village will be moving forward. So that information will, at this point, come from Phil, correct?
At
Me
your
if I'm wrong.
convenience, that's, I think that issue is most appropriately discussed in executive session.
So.
And I'll explain the reason for that at that time.
But it is definitely something that is on our radar and will be something we work moving forward. So again, this is for the retainage that was released to MIG for the pool portion that was previously approved by council to release. I believe it was the meeting right before I started and Mr. Koppelman was here and gave you guys some information. Is my understanding at least.
Yes, be along with a rep from Meg.
Any other comments or questions? We have a motion, don't we?
Yeah.
Are you ready for us to move on?
Yes, I apologize.
That's all right, no problem. Go ahead, Lisa, you can call it.
Jerry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Barb,
yes.
Bob,
Yes, that motion carried. Next action item, resolution comprehensive fee schedule.
So I have before you guys, sorry about that, a comprehensive schedule of fees. This is different than what you guys have seen in the past. I think that Darwin talked to you guys about this even as well as doing an actual comprehensive fee schedule. The intent of this is to just make it easier on staff, the citizens council, so that we have a very clear picture of the fees. So I'd like to go through just a couple things. I'm not necessarily proposing fee changes. They mostly stayed the same, and I'll address kind of each thing that's changing. So I do want to put that out there, but just starting from the beginning, FOIA prohibits charging more than 10 cents per copy excluding wages. So I'd like to just make that the 10 cents. The 3 is a little bit weird anyway.
So it was a 13 cents, so we're at 10 cents.
We were at 10.3 cents, which is, again, I don't know how we are charging a third of a cent, so just trying to simplify and clarify that. A new fee that we are proposing is property tax roll request at $500. I will probably defer to Brandon. I'm going to try to explain this the best that I can, but what happens is banks or commercial businesses will reach out to us and they'll want that tax information, which takes a lot of time, a lot of printing from Brandon specifically. And then they turn around and they sell that information to make a profit. So what we're wanting to do is cover the associated costs for the staff to actually provide that information. Brandon did do some research to see what other communities and townships are doing. The township here charges $3 per parcel, which would be considerably more than what we're proposing. Some of the other communities are at the 500, and there were a few that were 1,000. So this is, we're not trying to make a ton of money. We're just trying to make sure that we're covering our associated costs.
And this is a new fee.
That is a new, brand new fee, yes. And if you guys have specific questions, again, I defer to Brandon on that.
Do we have to participate in this?
So it would be considered public information, correct, Brandon? So if it's requested, we would have to provide it.
Even by a for-profit business?
It does not matter if
Doesn't
they're,
matter?
yes. So the next part is the recycling hauler license. This is not actually a new fee. Our ordinance currently specifies that we will charge an annual fee from October 1st to September 30th for any commercial recycling hauler that operates within our village limits. However, I have not been able to find any actually set associated fee with that. I did put $15 here. Again, could be changed. The reason I put $15 is if you go down a little bit further, you'll see that we have some other licenses that are $15. So to me, it made the most sense just to have some of those fees kind of be uniform and the same across the board. If we don't want to charge this, we would need to do an ordinance amendment. I don't know the intent.
Would this be like Stevens?
Yes, because they do the recycling program, so they would pay a $15 annual fee.
Well, we should cover the costs of our staff of collecting and relaying them and saying, okay, we have 300 subscribers. I mean, staff obviously puts time into that, into getting the emails out and sorting the paperwork and the checks and everything else. So I would say whatever your time and material of whatever that staff person is we charge them that fee. I mean, it's just like we're passing on the
Right.
ticket here, the garbage tags. If these people have to collect 500, applications and checks, and we have to bank them, and Brandon has to bank them, I mean, that costs us some money as well, so. $15, I wish we could get a couple more, but that seems low.
How much of it is a public service though? That's just gonna get passed on to our village residents.
Yeah, we don't want it to be, $1,000 that they're just gonna jack up the recycling rates again, but it should be,
Right.
it should pay for itself.
$15 is only an hour's worth of work.
Yeah, so if that was, it's actually a really good point, Mike, and something I didn't even factor in, to be honest, because when I read that, I was a little confused. Bill did indicate that it's definitely something that they are familiar with and see in other communities. If we're looking at it that way, I would definitely say that $15 is far too low, and that we would need to adjust that to be more accurate. I cannot tell you right now what the actual cost would be, but I could do some research and bring it back to you guys at the next meeting to talk about what the actual time spent on that looks like.
So do you want us to table this?
We certainly can, yes. If we could go through the rest, just in case I need to look up anything else to make sure I'm bringing everything back to you at the next meeting, because I would like these fees to be effective for the new fiscal year. So that is all the changes on the first page. Just a couple things below there. I did cite the specific village ordinance that's already in our ordinance. Again, I'm putting it in here to help be transparent, to make sure we're following it. I do want to talk about the eating and drinking establishments as well. That currently, to my knowledge, is not being followed. So moving forward, if we adopt, well, not if, it's in our ordinance, so we need to be following that. If we're not wanting to do that, we need to change the ordinance. So it's in the fee schedule as the ordinance is written now. If we make those changes, the fee schedule would need to be adjusted accordingly. But I do want to be open about that, because restaurants in our community would see that annual fee for that license, which is again $15.
Is that something that the office would send a bill to them once a year at the same time? This is the fee and.
Yes, we're gonna have to, at the office, talk about our policy moving forward, or procedures, how we do that. But that's how I would envision that, is that every year, and again, it would be October 1 fiscal year, so we would probably a little bit early just send that out in order to collect that license fee. And this year will look a little different, as we'll probably send some additional information out and maybe go around even having some conversations, because I'm sure that when people see this, it'll be something they're not familiar with.
Well, not to be snide or anything, but I mean, if you look at the next one, dance hall, this whole ordinance was probably written, when we had bar shootings or something like that. Dance hall, really, it's not even worth.
That was before I got.
It's not even worth the time.
Before we had what?
We're like, oh, we're gonna fight it out, let's go do, dance hall license.
Saloons is what you're trying to say. So, if you don't mind if I ask a question, so, just being one of those businesses, on my liquor license, it is specific that I do have a dance floor at the restaurant, and it has to be 10 by 10, because it was specific on my liquor license, so I am listed as that. So did I just tell myself I get another fee, or? So I just think that's kind of what it's covering, maybe, but.
Say we have 10 restaurants in town and we charge them $15, it's $150, it's not even worth our staff's time.
So
a $15 application.
I
They already
agree.
pay fees to the state.
Absolutely.
So overall, we need to look at our ordinances. There are some antiquated ordinances, to say the least. So it is in the fee schedule. We make that ordinance change, we take that off. And there is a definition, so I did look at that. I don't think that would qualify. This actually was more talking about like if they were doing dance events or like street dances or things like that, which is why there's also the 1-day license and different things there. But agree, it's
I mean, $2.50.
it's very outdated. So the next page is our building department.
This is amazing. No, this is absolutely the kind of stuff that we want to talk about. This is where we want our planning commission to start talking about going through these. This is great. I mean, this is.
I know it is.
Very relevant.
When I was going through it, I was like, oh my gosh.
This is what it's all about, we just stuff up.
So the second page is building department. These fees, again, are exactly as they are today. There's no changes. It's just, again, trying to simplify the format. Do you guys have any questions on that page?
That makes sense.
The next page is facility reservations. Again, was not able to find these, but in talking to the staff, these are the current fees. We do currently waive the fees for churches, so I did put that specifically in here as well. That way it wouldn't have to come to you guys every single time. The next page is water and sewer service, or the next couple pages. So this is something that we had talked about previously. These fees are the same. I did reach out to John Holland, who actually luckily was coming through Blissfield and stopped, so I was able to talk to him in person and meet him, which was great. So he and I looked at, we talked about our upcoming fiscal year budget, where we're at right now, where our fees are. He actually did agree with me that we should leave fees the way that they are, and the way what we're projected to be spending and earning and everything. However, he did have a really good idea that I fully support and think we should move forward with, is in around April, May time, bring him back into not do a full fee analysis or rate analysis, but just to look at it and do any revisions or changes that he may recommend to us. And that again would come to you guys. There's no cost to do that. It would be absolutely free. So I definitely think that's in our best interest. In fact, I have set a reminder on my calendar to make sure that I don't lose track of that, and that we can get John back in here to look at that and just make sure we are moving forward in a good direction. Again, I do want to reiterate what I had said previously, is that we're not raising rates this year because of our position. However, we need to absolutely not lose sight of where we're at moving forward and get into the same position we were before. We have a lot of maintenance to do. We need to support all of those needs in the capital projects. And as everybody knows, things just continue to get more costly and cost of inflation. So
Hence, I politely disagree with you. I am not comfortable with 0% raise. But I'm just stating it from my perspective.
And when this, if it's tabled tonight, you absolutely have the final decision. So if you as a council decide to go a different route, we certainly can do so. But if you have questions or anything in the meantime, certainly let me know.
I do, because you talk about not changing the rates and whatnot, but something I've been working with Brandon and Jeff, Jubai, and everybody else in the past, for the past year now, is this quote unit charge. You know, we've got somebody that hasn't paid their bill. Their water bill is $12,000 I just read recently, because he's continuing to fight this unit charge. We need to come up with a decision or an answer on what certifies a unit, what makes a unit, and if we're gonna charge, you know, again.
I thought we had
Reading,
asked
what's
Mr.
that?
Dubai, I thought we asked Mr. Dubai to look into this.
We did.
Okay,
We didn't get a solid answer.
can I go back to the bills and say no?
But I mean, looking at our ordinance, again, it goes back down into saying, okay, if there's more than one unit on the past the shut-off box, past the shut-off, we charge them for, you know, the average or usage rate. But the point is, we pay for anything, the private property owner pays for anything beyond that curb box. So again, if I have 100 units in one building and I can satisfy that water consumption with my tenants, it shouldn't be the village's concern what I do past that curb box. Again, we're talking out of both sides of our mouths because we're trying to charge people extra funds or extra rates for doing whatever they do that has absolutely nothing to do with the village maintaining that portion of it. The village should be concerned about what happens up to the curb box, and we should step away from all of that. If we have to talk with John Holland and whatnot and say, well, you know, it dictates an apartment complex, or it dictates this or dictates that, a lot of the downtown buildings, maybe we need to look at meter size. You know, if you've got a 2-inch meter feeding an 8 apartment complex, maybe it is enough, maybe it's not enough water to provide to those 8 units. But again, that's on the property owner. If it falls within the
Supply.
if it falls within the supply, but if it falls within the state water code, then we shouldn't be concerned about anything beyond that. Plumbing code, building code dictates how many water units or how much water you need to supply a building. It should be up to us. And again, that just, it gets us out of that mix, that muddiness of
Where do
what
you think this
constitutes
came,
a
where do you think
unit.
this came from, like,
What,
with what you're,
probably just an easier way to make more money, make more revenue, because, you know, if you have an 8-unit apartment complex and only 1 meter feeding it, well, yes, it kind of does justify that each unit would pay a usage fee. But again, we still haven't dictated, we haven't controlled, we haven't, I guess, you know, had the definition of what makes a unit. Downtown, these businesses change. What used to be an upstairs unit and a downstairs unit now is maybe one solid building, or maybe there's 3 units in there. So again, it's a checks and balances. How do we dictate? How do we know what's actually happening in that unit or in that building? Does that make sense?
it does, I hear what you're saying.
If we need to adjust the rates up to the curb box, then we adjust rates to say we need to sell 1.1 million gallons of water a day. We charge our rates to make that consumption, we make that money back.
If we went ahead and we make the rate change, then how much less money will be coming in?
Exactly,
And
exactly.
that's where
And that's where you say, okay, well then a 2-inch line or a 4-inch line absorbs that cost, because if you have an 8-unit complex, you need to provide enough water to serve that, and then we make that money back in the usage charter, in the usage fee. And it's beyond that curb box. It's beyond anything that the village cares about. It falls into the municipal plumbing code and that sort of stuff. It doesn't fall back into this, well, you know, my building used to be, you know, this, but now it's that, and back and
this
forth.
is a crazy discussion we've been having for a long while.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you know the history of any of this?
And even more so looking at reports and saying that there's somebody that has a $12,000 water bill, that we still don't even know what we're gonna do. What's the solution? We're just gonna continue letting it build, or we're gonna determine he has this many units and we charge him this much money.
Right, and we can't shut him off because one of his upstairs tenants has a bill that's paid.
Correct.
Right.
That's why I would like to sit back with John Holland and say, okay, we need to sell this much money, it costs us this much money to make it, and here's on top what the state's requiring us to sell for the raise a fund, and then we could readjust our rates at that.
So the availability charge is a static number.
No, it doesn't have to be.
Well,
It is.
If you think about
Yearly,
if you think
yearly
about
it is.
annually, it is.
Yes, annually it is, yeah.
So all you're doing is subdividing that with fewer numbers.
Correct.
So it's just a price increase for everyone else. Just so you know,
Yes.
that's
You're
that's where
absolutely
I'll
right,
go.
that devil's
That's
advocate,
exactly what will
absolutely,
happen.
absolutely.
And so hence it, yeah, so our $150 water bill now will increase to $200 as a resident.
I think the concept behind this is every unit paid an availability charge as an owner operator. Renter or lease.
But the problem is units change and building use changes. So how do we report that, or how does the property owner report that? And how do we have a checks and balances to say, okay, you have 8 units, you're gonna pay 8, or you went back to 2, you're gonna pay 2, and that's the challenge.
My building changed when I put the apartments in. I had one water bill, I put 2 apartments in,
So you got 3.
right, but I had 2 more meters installed. I don't have 1 meter for the old building and then built off of that. I put in 2 new meters for the apartments.
Right.
So I had to get building permits, I had to go through the plumbing permit. That's how you get the people to put in. I mean, you put in a meter when you put in an apartment.
Well, you should, yes, but when they did the parking lot downtown, that sort of thing, we didn't in the past have the access or capabilities to do that because you didn't have the access to the buildings to do that. That's the fails, solution.
Do you have a ballpark figure how many units we're talking about?
I bet
But Brandon knows.
I'm just trying to get those cash saying, the only thing I can say is, the actual minimums generate another $25,000 to $30,000 a month. Don't pay us this $20,000 to $20,000 worse than it. So that's it, be $240,000 of revenue that you're gonna lose out on if you get rid of them.
which will go on top of the regular resident, if you will.
You said $240,000 a year, that's the extra fees because of
Because they're gonna pay for these uses no matter what. The uses isn't gonna change. So it's.
Right, that's what you were saying, James, the usage will change.
And the minimum, so the other thing is that once you change that, factors, you're gonna think that we're gonna come up with extra revenue and I'm not gonna get my suggestions, but that's up to you, but I know where I stand with it.
Maybe we can earmark some
Brandon
of
makes
that
very
American Rescue Plan. Maybe some of that American Rescue Plan money can be used towards upgrading some of this.
We just need to come to a consensus and say, this is how we're gonna follow it, this is what the rule is gonna be. Again, it needs to be fair across the board. We can't let somebody say, oh, we're gonna sit on it for 12 months while we figure out what constitutes a unit, and you racks up $12,000 water bill.
Exactly.
And somebody else is paying for 3 units when you technically have one in their building.
Mr. Shaver, have you heard of, an experience with this with any of the other communities? So you're aware of?
It's not reinventing the wheel, exactly. They should be able
Yeah,
to do it.
it's gotta be out there. It's gotta be out there somewhere.
The only other municipality that I have worked for that has water and sewer is the village of Onstead. And to the best of my knowledge, they've not had this issue. They've not been confronted with this issue. Lots of other municipalities that we do work for have sewage systems, and that's a different kettle of fish. Danielle and I were just talking about the fact that when the landlord convinces the tenants to be individually responsible for their water bills, that they may or may not be able to. What you would like to be able to do, and what the statute provides, is that past due water bill can be certified to the property tax bill and collected by the county for the benefit of the municipality. The calculation of residential units, I need to have a whole lot more background before I get into that, but
Right.
if as Danielle, her understanding of that is that if the tenants accept responsibility for paying their water bill individually, that we don't have the option of certifying the past due water bill to the property tax for that property. I was just thinking out loud, and if you can identify which tenants haven't paid their water bill, then I believe, and I have to go back and check, this is all pretty much of a big hip shot here, but I believe that each tenant is susceptible of small claims to collect their water bill. There's no reason that the village as a whole should subsidize the water use of a multifamily residence. And there's gotta be a way to collect it. And we will get to the bottom of it. Danielle and I will have an answer for you.
Well, between what clarifies or constitutes a unit / how do we determine how many units are in place?
I don't think there's any controversy about the the concept of a residential unit or what constitutes a residential unit is pretty well established across the state. I'd like to talk to Mike more about what the controversy is, because I don't understand well enough what's happening.
With the, yeah.
Like, there's the metering factor that he talked about and there's other factors, I'm sure. But I don't understand them well enough sitting here to make
Right.
intelligent conversation about it.
Well, we definitely know it needs to be reviewed.
Yes, I mean, and I don't wanna hold up your
No,
fee
no.
structure in order to, get things going for the next fiscal year, but I want answers to those questions that I've asked for a year now. And especially, again, seeing that $12,000 water bill, just, I think that kind of,
The part that fries my tush is the year.
Phil and I will work on that and get some information to you guys soon on that, so.
Thanks for your patience, Danielle.
sorry,
No, you're good. This is good discussion.
It's just been a long time
so-
coming, and there was a lot of discussion prior to, and there was discussion during, and there's discussion still now, 365 days later.
Yeah, no, it's good for me to make sure I've got these things so I can follow through, so. The next page is the planning section of the fees. These are things related to, like condition zoning variances, special land use permits, things like that. There's actually a couple things that I'm proposing we just remove, the special meeting request. Any citizen can request a meeting, but we should be having regular meetings anyway. The other thing is we should encourage citizens, if they have a meeting request, to be coming forward and not having to pay a fee. So I'm proposing that we actually remove that. There'd be no change to the ordinance to do that. And then the annexation delays or second request. The ordinance specifically says how long their approvals are valid for to move forward. If they don't meet those, they're starting the process over again. So again, just proposing to remove that. The ordinance does currently identify that we would charge for a certificate of occupancy. I've put in a $25 fee here. I looked at what some other communities do. This again just kind of goes back to our time and what it would take to do that. And then our ordinance, the soil erosion and sedimentation control permit, same thing, it's identified in the ordinance, but there was no fees identified within our fee structure to do that, including no set fee amount. So again, I looked at what other communities are doing, what the state of Michigan is doing, and tried to really align our fees with that. So that is what you see there. Do you have any questions on that page?
So the ones in yellow are new,
Correct, yes,
just making sure.
yes.
just, to again, throw a wrench in it, you got the in-ground pool and pond permit, you've also got per village ordinance that they would have to put a fence around said pool or pond, so you're gonna charge another fee or permit fee to do the fence as well, correct, with that, along with that?
It would be, yes, so that would be a, which is on the previous page, or one of the previous pages, they would pay for the zoning permit of $35. It would be two separate permits though. The next page is our police department. There's really no changes here, just spelling it out a little more clearly. And then lastly, the aquatic center, which again are the same fees that were approved last year, just including it in overall fee schedule.
And after we meet with Heather or whatnot and the rest of those involved, that may change anyway for the next season, right? Because we're gonna be able to say the pool costs us this much this year to operate, and that may fluctuate.
Correct, yes. So this will come back to you if you guys table it tonight at the next meeting. I did briefly talk to Heather about leaving it that way until we have that October meeting, just because I didn't want to just start throwing darts at the wall. I want to have an intelligent conversation if we do change that. So this fee schedule, what I would like to do moving forward into the future is every year when we do budget, we should be looking at this and making sure that fees don't need to be adjusted to cover inflation or changes within what we have going on within the village. But that absolutely doesn't mean that at any point throughout the year, there couldn't be a change if something comes up immediately, or if there's an ordinance amendment or anything like that. But just the annual thing is good, just so it doesn't fall off our radar and kind of just fall on the back burner.
So we would not recommend a motion at this time. We will wait until you get till next time, is that correct?
Yes, and I can look into, so there was the recycling hauler license was the only question, correct? And then the unit thing, which will be more of down the line.
All right, then. Next action item is a resolution adopting village ordinance section 21.004.
Sorry, can we back up? We do need a motion to table or postpone that item.
Even if we didn't make a motion.
Correct. That way,
Because it was on the agenda.
correct, yes.
I'll make a
And
motion.
that way it's not showing as a failed item. Sorry.
Sorry.
I'll make a motion then that we table our adoption of our village fees until the next council meeting.
Support.
Moved and supported to table the fee schedule for our next council meeting. You call the roll, Lisa?
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, the motion's tabled. Next action item, resolution adopting village ordinance section 221.004. All the other.
So
Can we table this as well?
I would recommend that you table it because it is, this one and the next agenda item are tied to the fee schedule. Just a really quick for your information, what I am actually proposing is that we reference our fee schedule and make that part of our ordinance every year. Because overall, it will save on employee time and cost of having to amend the ordinance every time there's a fee change. And then we're making sure too that the ordinance doesn't have one fee and the fee schedule another. But yes, I would recommend tabling.
I would make a motion that we table the resolution for adopting the ordinances for eating and drinking establishments, dance halls, auctioneer's license, transient merchant's license, permit and fees, sewer connections, rates and charges, scheduling. And schedules, okay. Does that cover it all?
Support.
Moved and supported to table all the terms of our.
As stated.
As stated, yeah, as stated. Can you call the roll, Lisa?
Jerry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, that motion carried or moved. Table, sorry. Next action item is approve the Main Street program, community requirements and expectation agreement.
Okay, let me talk about this for a second. So we actually, this agreement has been presented to you guys previously. So it is a amendment to the agreement for our Main Street program. it is, we do currently follow all of these things. We're already doing them. We want to continue. The benefit of doing and participating in this program is that we do get assistance from Michigan Economic Development Agency. We are able to apply for some different funding streams and just really a lot of added resources. There are associated costs with this. We do commit to some training for our DDA Main Street director, which regardless of this, I would fully support. We need to be investing in our employees. We are required to hold some insurance for this, which we currently do. It is part of our insurance renewal, which you guys will be seeing at the next meeting. So we're already covering that. I did send this agreement to Phil to review before coming to you guys tonight. He did kind of overall, some of his things were just those costs that are associated with it. There's some pretty strict requirements for our DDA director to make sure that they're meeting. Heather is very aware of them. It's stuff she's already been doing, will continue to do, and is part of her job. So I am recommending that we approve this agreement and authorize Bob and Heather to sign the agreement moving forward. But if you guys have any questions, certainly let me know and I will try to answer the best I can.
Is this for 1 year?
I
don't recall.
So I think it's a little over a year to be, I think it goes December 31st of 2022. And it was supposed to start in July of this year, so we're a little behind the ball. I guess just for transparency and being upfront, I'm not sure this has come to you guys in the past for approval, but it is an agreement and should, moving forward into the future, council should be seeing these agreements before they're executed.
I'll move to approve the agreement and authorize President Valdez and DDA Director Marks to execute on behalf of the governing body.
Support.
Moved and supported to approve the agreement and authorize President Valdez and DDA Director Marks to execute on behalf of the governing body. Are there any other questions? You can call the roll, Lisa.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Barb, yes, James,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, the motion carried. Next action item is approve payment of wastewater treatment plant improvement project.
So our contractor has submitted for another payment for the wastewater treatment project, which is, as you all know, moving forward with, of course, some delays and hiccups along the way. Our engineers have reviewed this. I believe, is Denise still on? She was on earlier, is on Zoom if you guys do have specific questions.
Hey, I'm on.
Thank you, Denise.
Yep.
But at this point, the engineers have reviewed it. We are recommending that we start the process. So this will have to be sent to USDA, do all of the paperwork and things. But if you have questions, let myself or Denise know.
Randy, how's it looking out there? Slow and steady.
Well, I guess I can't quite say so, but as fast as I can with as fast as things are. Running.
We're certainly running into, and definitely correct me if I'm wrong in this statement, but supply issues and getting material on site, which I know we've talked about briefly before. And unfortunately, we're not the only ones seeing this issue. It's definitely very inconvenient time. I have actually been in touch with Eagle, putting them on notice of our concerns, and just making sure that we really over communicate moving forward on what's happening. At this time, they've indicated that they don't want to start having serious conversations about the project timeline until end of March, beginning of April. So I've got a reminder set for that as well. And I've asked the staff out there, let's make sure we don't, and engineers, and let's not lose sight of that and make sure we're really keeping in touch with them. So hopefully we'll start getting some supplies and just, I mean, the other challenge now is we're gonna start to hit winter where we can't do certain parts of the project due to cold weather, so.
But your communication with Eagle is obviously,
Yes, it is definitely critical and something, I think my first week I called them and was like, hey, let's work together and move forward. So I know that that's the staff and my goal moving forward, so we'll continue to do that.
I make a motion to approve in connection with the Village of Blissfield wastewater treatment plant upgrade project. Contractor pay number 6 from LaSalle Construction Group, Inc., dated August 31, 2021, in the net amount of $508,471.53 on contract number 1237700-00011, and authorize the village administrator to execute all documents related to this agreement.
Second.
Motion moved and seconded. Could you call the roll on the motion as presented, Lisa?
Barb,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
yes,
Bob,
Yes. Motion carried. Next action item is to approve change order for wastewater treatment upgrade project.
So before you, we are recommending a change order. There's actually two parts to this change order. One is in the amount of $6,142.15. This is to reroute a roof drain due to some structural beams. This is obviously the much cheaper way to go rather than trying to move a structural beam. It would need to move forward. The second part is $3,332.49, and this is for a affluent meter reading signal for the UV. Again, Denise, I would refer to Denise on any questions specifically. You have, they have reviewed this and they support the change order. So the total change order amount would be the $9,474.64. I provided kind of where we're at today and moving forward. But if you have questions, let us know.
I have a question, Denise.
Yes.
This is Gwen Dewson. My question is this, is that it's an existing structural beam. If the building is new, where is the existing structural beam?
No. Yeah, no, it's not in the new building. It's reworking the old building, and it was a design with the monorail structural beam. And Randy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it was the monorail system, the structural beams that they had for that addition were in conflict with the roof drains.
Okay, all right, thank you. I assumed that, but I wanted to just get clarification. Thank you for the existing beam.
Yep.
Someone like to make the recommended motion?
I will move to approve change order number 8 in the amount of $9,474.64 to reroute a roof drain due to existing structural beams and authorize the village administrator to execute all documents related to the change order on behalf of the governing body.
Support.
Motion is moved and supported. Can you call the roll on that motion as presented, Lisa?
James,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, that motion carried. Next action item is appointment electrical position, inspector position.
Staff, Lou, myself, Lisa, and Holly did interviews. We had received 2 applications for the part-time electrical inspector. We interviewed both of them. Both applicants were high quality, experienced individuals. I would feel comfortable recommending either. However, we are making the recommendation that we appoint Brian Lewis. The reason for this, again, both were great applicants, is just because of his availability to make sure that he's meeting the needs of our citizens. The other individual, John, does have a full-time inspecting job with the city of Ann Arbor and was a little bit more limited in his schedule. Again, I appreciate both applicants. Both would do great. I do also, and this isn't in your packet, but today, a Dale Kohler did come in and I spoke with him. He had indicated that he never heard from us and had applied for the position. So I was talking to him because staff, Lisa and I both checked our emails. We had never received anything in the mail. He did indicate that he had faxed his application in about 10 days ago. We never received it over the fax. He did admit that it could have been on his side. He didn't stay to make sure the fax went through. So he did not get an interview due to us just getting his application today. He did just recently, or is in the process of working with the state of Michigan to obtain his electrical inspector license. While I do feel for Mr. Kohler, I stand by my recommendation to you guys. It is an unfortunate situation, but staff has no way of knowing who potentially did or didn't submit an application and it was past the deadline. The other thing that we're faced with is that Lou is done this Wednesday as his final day, and I would like to make sure that we don't have a lapse in that coverage for our citizens. But if you have questions related to this, please let me know.
I move to appoint Brian Lewis to the contracted part-time electrical inspector position effective September 15th, 2021, contingent on them successfully completing a background check.
I'll support that.
Moved and supported to appoint Brian Lewis to the contracted part-time electrical inspector position effective September 15th, 2021, contingent on successfully completing a background check. Are there any other questions, comments? If not, you can call the roll, Lisa.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Barb. Yes. James,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, that motion carried. Action item 15, appointment full-time police officer. Would you like to talk about that, Chief?
We have been looking since Officer Rayburn resigned, I believe that was in April. And Mr. Schomer applied. He is currently a Hillsdale County Sheriff's Deputy and a field training officer. He's got about 20 years in law enforcement. He holds a bachelor's degree from Florida State University. He's got background in juvenile probation as well as corrections. We interviewed him last week. It was a panel of consisting of me, Sergeant Wagner, Administrator Gross, and Council Pro Tem Tusa. He interviewed very, very well. I have talked to him extensively. His background was flawless, and I think he's made a great addition to the police department. I hated losing Tyler, but if he had to go, this is the guy to replace him. So.
You have any questions for Chief?
Is this somebody that can help with some of the responsibilities Tyler had down the road?
Yes. He's got a lot of extensive training already. Quite honestly, he's gonna be able to hit the ground running.
He's a gazelle. Ask him about the word gazelle, see what he says.
Well, with those recommendations, I'll move council approve the hiring of Mr. Jeff Schomer after October 1st, 2021 as a probationary police officer. The starting wage to be determined by the fiscal year 21-22 wage scale approved by council and pending the satisfactory pre-employment physical and psychiatric screen.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded to approve the hiring of Jeff Schomer after October 1, 2021 as probationary police officer. The starting wage to be determined at the FY 21-22 wage scale approved by council and pending satisfactory pre-employment physical and psychiatric screening. Any other comments?
Just one more thing, he would have been here tonight, but he's working.
Okay.
So, he's not here.
You call the roll, Lisa?
Barb,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes, and the motion carried.
And 16 should not be in that spot, so skip that,
Yeah,
please. I'm sorry, I'm not sure,
I thought that was.
probably part of our technical
All right.
difficulties.
So I'm on to the reports. Are there any questions on those reports? There's Todd's. You guys have any questions on those reports? No. There's that report from Todd on that Rose Street property. All right, moving on to public comment items not on the agenda.
I do actually have one, President. We received a letter from a resident here that is not able to attend the meeting, so I did let them know, Susan Reed, that I would read the letter to you guys and then we could bring this up. So I'll just go through really quick and read it, but dear Mr. Hudson, per our conversation on 9/3/21, I submit the following grievance regarding our final water bill that I finally received on 9/3/21. I called and spoke with you on 7/20 to order a final reading on 7/23, date of closing on the sale of our former home. At that time, I gave you our new address of 7307 Riverside Drive, Clay, Michigan, so that the bill for the period of 6/16 through 7/15 could be mailed, along with the final bill for our service 7/16 to 7/23. At that time, there was a USPS address forward service in place for mail to be sent to our new address. On 8/13, I called the village office again, looking for the bill for service through 7/15 and the final bill. Lisa took the call and advised me that the final bill to include the period from 6/16 to 7/15 would be mailed 8/20. She did not indicate there was a past due balance. I then had her confirm our new address. She told me that the address change had not been made, but assured me that she would take care of it. On 8/30, I called the village office again and was told that the final bill to include previous month through 7/23 would be mailed soon. I believe I spoke with Tracy and she did not indicate that there was a past due balance for the period of 6/16 through 7/15, the bill that I never received separately. On 8/3, the final bill finally was received with the proper mailing address. Much to my dismay, the total due was for 2 full months along with the penalty. On 8/3, I called the village office yet again to inquire and was told I needed to speak with you regarding my demand for the reversal of the $10.36 penalty on the period of 6/16 through 7/15, along with the prorated of the minimum service fee for 9 days from 7/16 to 7/23. You advised me that I needed to write a letter to be submitted at the next council meeting. If you check our payment history, you will see that we have never been late on a payment. I am not sure what else I could have done to get that regular bill paid. I was told the final bill would include all service and that was due and payable, never being told that we had a past due balance on a bill that you never sent out. I therefore feel that the $10.36 penalty should be reversed. Secondly, to bill us for the entire minimum fee is ridiculous and very unfair. Our house was sold on 7/23 and we only own the home for 9 days for the billing period with 0 usage. The new owner should be responsible for the remaining minimum service fee after 7/23. Enclosed, you will find payment as followed. $113.93 minus the $10.36 penalty for $103.57. And then from 7:15 to 7:23, 101.18 for divided by 30 days is 337 times 9 days, 30.33. So a total payment of $133.90, which was received. Please submit this letter of payment at the next council meeting and advise us of the outcome. We believe this is fair and equitable to the village and ourselves. Respectfully submitted. Okay, that was a lot. So I guess kind of a summary. This individual, what they're saying is accurate. They received a $10.36 penalty for not paying their bill. Then they were billed for a full month, the base fee. I did talk to staff about this. I actually learned that that's how we charge people. Did not realize that. I do support a prorated fee. We did talk to BSNA. We have the ability within our existing program to prorate the fee when homes are sold throughout mid-month. I agree. It would be fair that if I purchase the house and take over ownership, that I would pay that portions of the monthly service fee. So I wholeheartedly feel moving forward, that's how we should be doing things. Again, we have the ability without adding that within our program, without adding work on staff. As far as the $10.36 penalty, unfortunately, I don't agree with that. I understand her frustration with the forwarding address. And I will defer to Brandon as he did specifically send out that information to the forwarding and things like that. It has that, but they were aware that the bill was owed and needed to be paid, and I feel it's their responsibility. But again, if you have specific questions about kind of what transpired, let Brandon know, but that is what's in front of you right now. And I can.
I just want to give a couple of things that we should have been done. She did ask for it, that just changed out the final bill, which is the day that without September. She did not say anything about the office bill. The office bill did come back, and I handwrote the envelope and sent it to her for an address. She has called several times, spoken to myself, spoke to Lisa. She is fully aware that she had a balance. But last time I spoke to her, I don't know, she was very good about it. I do agree with her that it should be a prorated bill. But I don't have the authority to change that. So that's why I told everybody that letter to you guys. Because I felt I knew it should prorate the bill. And I agree with her that it should be prorated because it pains me to charge that I was had possession of my house for 1 day for a whole month. And not charge the new buyer, set the dollar rate wrong. Because that's the way the practice has always been before I came on. So, but she was probably aware she had a balance. Lisa said it to her.
Well, and unfortunately, our bills are forwarded. They come back to us with a change of address or unable to reach or something like that. But because we're government, from my understanding, they aren't automatically forwarded to her address.
So yes, she arrived in another year, talking about the prorated hurt. And I'm sure we wish the parents, they can do that.
Yeah, you written all over it.
I can put him on the spot.
He's not smart.
Right.
Swear them, get them up there.
It's a valid point because as Brandon knows, I closed on a house. I sold my house on the 1st and I was billed an entire month. Wasn't prorated in it, right? No proration. So I had 1 or 2 days. I paid that entire service fee. So that's me wearing my citizen hat. I was irate. And that's the kind of stuff that makes the citizens angry because they know the next person paid that stupid.
You do the same
fee too.
thing with state taxes
So-
with it, so property tax.
Should be prorated, absolutely.
I agree with
So
you.
And that's
it's the
not
village
an-
double dipping on getting that usage fee collected twice, and
That
that's,
should be something up to the buyer and seller to negotiate.
no, we should be able to say that as a village that you pay this percentage, you had it for 3 days, you had it for 20 days, you pay that prorated fee. For the village to get 2 usage fees out of the same residence or unit per month, again, it's double dipping and it's not right, it's unethical. It may have been a slip up, but it's still unethical if we know about it.
We're not getting 2 fees. So
You're getting 2, if that person, if I paid for 15 months and then they take over after the 15th,
the new
they're paying.
person's not being, they're only being billed usage. The new person doesn't get the monthly fee. So that's what's happening.
Since when? Since now or since in the past?
My understanding is the past, that there's been, so for example, you paid the monthly fee for 1 day, and then they paid the usage with no monthly fee. But until the next month, when they have the full month. I agree with you though, there's nothing in the ordinance saying we have to do that. My understanding in talking to staff is that's how we've always done it, which you all know is my least favorite. We should not be doing that. We should be prorating it. It's literally a checkbox in BSNA. When we do a final read on 7/23, we check prorated, and then the new owners pay the prorated first month. So we are collecting the same monthly fee, but we're collecting it from the people that actually owned the property for the prospective times.
So the technology does what we want it to do.
Yeah, yes, and we should be using that, and I mean, I personally would be mad if you stuck me with the full month and I was there for a day as well.
So, I have no question, it's, if we're gonna do the prorated thing, should we have to have an ordinance? We do, okay, it's just answered me. Okay.
We need to clean this stuff up. I mean, there's so much inconsistency to where, thank you, Danielle, for addressing it. We do, it's just things that need to be looked at.
For the last year, ever since I've been on, we've been talking about it for real.
What is the ordinance?
Is there anything we can do
No.
with this?
Saying, I mean, what are we supposed to do? If the postal service doesn't forward it on, that's not our responsibility, unfortunately. I trust our staff.
It's not the postal service.
So, you have a suggestion?
What do we do?
You have a suggestion?
So, what I would recommend that you guys do is, that we reduce the prorated amount that they do pay the 30/33. I do not think that we should put that on the new owner in this single instance, only because it is not fair to, I think, backtrack and add that fee after the fact. From this point moving forward, we should be prorating every single month. I do think that the $10.36 penalty should be paid by this person because they did know that they had a bill that was due. And again, that's my recommendation, take it or leave it or change it or.
I was just trying to let you guys know, I already have this package, the check came in the mail the other day, but for that amount, that's just that.
Minus the prorated amount and minus the $10.36. So if you, depending on what you guys do, like let's say you don't waive the penalty, she would owe $10.36 on her bill. So.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I just,
What's the cost on that?
yeah.
And
We're
So I'm gonna make a motion, and it's the last water adjustment motion I'm making. To waive the late fee in the amount of $10.36 and to agree to the prorated payment already made and to close the account fully with a balance of 0.
Second.
thank you.
moved and seconded on that motion. Can you call the roll on that as presented?
That was not your recommendation, correct?
Correct.
No, I just want to make sure I'm on the same page.
I'm
No,
good
no.
with it though. I really
Okay.
am.
Collected. You figure the wages and everything.
All right, you can call the roll.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Gwen,
No,
Yes, he's waived. Motion passed. All right, we're on to committee of the whole agenda preview. There are no agenda items this time.
we could say half of this, but then.
What's the fun in that?
Is there a need to discuss anything more with the budget?
You're still looking at requests for what we do with
I'd like to touch
projects.
base on that.
Right.
I know we don't all relish another meeting, I get that, but I would like to go ahead and,
We absolutely can add that if you'd like to, this budget discussion. Okay.
Can we put a time limit on that budget discussion? I'm just kidding.
Council's pleasure.
All right, then, council will be going into executive closed session. There's a motion.
I don't know what we say announcements or whatever, but I want to thank Danielle for everything that you've done so far. I mean, just this is nitpicky and it's frustrating and whatnot. You stepped in here in a crazy time, but you've done an awesome job, and just stupid things like this. Imagine the city of Nashville sitting there in their council meeting talking about water bills, you know what I mean? We have 1,100 services. Imagine 50,000 water services, and you'd be sitting here all night talking about water bills. Thank you. Let's get this cleaned up, but I appreciate what you're doing. I think you're on the right track, so thank you.
It's a team, but thank you.
it is.
Nothing better.
All right, so we need a motion to go into closed session. I'll make a motion.
Yeah.
Just because the public comments kind of skipped, I just wanted to ask a question really fast.
Go ahead.
Lisa said that there's several positions open.
Yeah.
And I figure I have to come to a meeting to ask for it anyways. So while we're here, can I just like put my name in to be on the DDA board, because I know there's an open position. So we'll save everybody some time and just, you guys can consider that. I would appreciate it. I don't know if we need to vote on that now or not, but.
So the DDA would make a recommendation to council and then approval
Okay.
there. But I will make sure that Heather knows that, and we do have a board application, sorry to be nitpicky, but we'll
I'll
get
track
that
it down
to
to
you
you.
and,
I will
yeah.
physically hand it to you.
No worries.
But we appreciate that, thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Randy.
Bye, Randy.
All right.
That's fine.
You can make.
Are we taking a quick break?
Let's take a motion.
Let's make a motion.
She's
All
gonna
right.
make them.
Okay, the motion is, I move to go into closed session at 9:25 PM per MCL 15.268 H to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosed by state or federal statute. So that's what- yes.
Sorry,
No, no, talk about
could you
you.
correct to G for me instead of H?
I can,
243G.
so G is in the H.
243G.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. She's right. 15268H is correct.
Oh, H was correct?
Yes, you're
Okay,
right.
all right, so we're good to go.
Support.
Did you roll on that, Lisa?
we do.
Okay.
Gotta go up there.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah, you have to
We gotta
put
go up
that
first.
So go in the conference.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Bye, Brandon, thank you.
Are you waiting?
didn't hear me. My life could do that.
Wake me up when you come back out. Okay.
That was silly. Hi, Brandon. See ya. Yeah, I'll be in. I'll be in.
On TV.
Yeah, okay, but yeah. Tomorrow, 5 o'clock.
I'm having some major technical difficulties with the internet.
Oh, tomorrow, Wednesday.
Oh, we're not. What's that?
Tomorrow, dude.
Tomorrow. By 5.
Yes, Jack,
I'll
I'll
see
be
you
tomorrow
tomorrow.
by 5 p.m.
Hi, Heather, how are you?
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll wait for roll, Roberta.
Okay, call the roll.
Jane,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Gwen,
I'm gonna play Jinx. Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes. We're in full session.
Anyone?
Oh, I'm good.
Yeah, go right.
Sorry.
No, I understand.
We're gonna take a couple minutes real quick.
Are we meeting back here? No, in the board. Oh.
Are we gonna stop for the pause and refresh? Yeah. That's one. Looks real good.
Yeah.
Looks real good.
Yeah, just setting up with the chiropractor the next 5 days after 18. I don't know how you guys.
How'd you guys do in that alley? You didn't bring any ringers?
We had our share, but somebody else had more. We finished that outing at 15. And I believe the winner was 19. It was that guy from the MSU basketball team and his group. Big fella.
No clue though.
Really big fella. Young fella.
I've never been there. I've never been either.
That's good, yeah, it's a good day trip.
Let's tell him like off to the
Anthony.
Yeah, you guys like staying.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
can't remember his name. Anyway, we did one.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
We had one,
Like the zombie apocalypse.
we have
You get
one
off the island
Friday.
Before you get bit.
Maybe I
Did one
should
last
have
year.
there. She can.
But we don't have our dues with us, so we're gonna have to figure out a different way to get her done.
Ready?
I know that story about the chiropractor because I have him on retainer.
Okay.
Everybody's got to take a break, baby. Are we allowed to take anything in there with us? No, we can take a break.
Take whatever you want. You can't take no.
I was born in the daytime. We'll figure it out. I think it's a great idea, but it won't work. I'm not that. She's got her.
thank you very much.
Yeah, we did.
Sorry.
Oh,
Chief Moss happy.
Still here.
Have to take a nap.
No, we didn't.
Need a motion
I'll make a motion to move to come out of closed sessions at 10:35 PM.
Support. Motion made to move, recommend a motion to move to come out of closed session at 10:35. You can call the roll.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Barb, yes, Jane,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, back into regular session.
I'll make a motion to follow the advice of the village attorney regarding forensic accounting services.
Support.
Moved and supported. Can you call the roll on that motion as presented, Lisa?
Jane,
Yes.
Barb, yes, Jerry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes. Motion carried. Motion's adjourned.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
support,
You can call the roll.
Jerry,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Barb, yes, Bob,
Yes, meeting adjourned. Thanks.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Danielle will be touching base regarding this paperwork.
I think my dog hates me.
Yeah.